to National Women Protecting Law, and that bill came last month. And you argued for an amendment in that bill on domestic rapes.
No, marital rape.
Marital rape.
Yeah. And no, I was not the only one arguing. I think it should be recognized, and it is because, you know something, in 100 years, in 200 years, people will look at us and they laugh at us. They will say, okay, this was a culture that did not even recognize marital rape. If the husband was really, really raping a woman, and we are a culture that says, no, this doesn't exist. He's married to you, he can do anything to you. Imagine how the future will look at us, how my daughter will look at us, how my granddaughter will look at us.
As a male, I have also a doubt about that.
Yes, tell me.
How can a husband can rape his wife?
Because I think when you marry, you agree to live together, you agree to have sex, you agree that you're in love with each other. But I believe that this agreement is not a perpetual agreement, in the sense that yes, with the next 100 years, till I die, I'm going to be with you. Yes, in that sense, it's an agreement. But every time you want sex, every place you want sex, every day you want sex, I have the right to say no. And if you're a nice person, you accept my right to say no. But if you're not a nice person, if you're somebody who puts your desire in front of my unwillingness, if you put your desire in front of my bodily unpreparedness, if you put your desire, if you put your ego, especially it's not even desire, men don't rape out of desire as much as they rape out of an insulted ego. So if you put an insulted or thwarted ego, how can you say no to me? In front of the fact that, you know, you love somebody and you're physical on them, I think it is an act of rape. It cannot be impossible not to rape.
And Meena, you are arguing for a woman body politics, right?
Yes.
And you are following a European version of feminism.
That's absolutely bullshit. I'm not talking about the women's body politics because white women are talking about it. I have major issues with Western feminism too, and blindly applying it to the Indian context, which a lot of feminists are doing. I'm talking about the body, and I'm trying to get everybody to talk about the body, because we live in a culture where the first time I was like, I once asked my father, Dad, you know, at the airport, the only people who don't hug each other, it's Indians. I cannot hug my father. We're not even used to that because we come from a culture of untouchability. Somebody should be touched, somebody should not be touched. And we come from a culture where everything about this body is regulated. Everything, how you tie your hair, somebody wears a sacred thread, somebody doesn't wear a sacred thread. We had this culture where women were not allowed to cover their breast according to their caste. We were live in a culture where women are not supposed to wear jackets. We had the Marapu Poratam in South India, in Tamil Nadu. So we live in a culture where every aspect of your clothing is, you know, is regulated by caste system. So why don't you talk about the body? Where does this discrimination exist? Somebody is allowed to touch, somebody is not allowed to touch. Women were asked to wear stone earrings. So, you know, when they are regulating, when there is a system that tells you what your body should do, you know, in Hinduism, like when the woman is having her periods, she's not allowed to go into the temple. So you're treating her on those days as an untouchable. So what I'm trying to say is, all this is a regulation of the female body. So, you know, nobody talks about these people and tells them, oh, you are doing so much to the woman's body. But when I say they are doing this to the women's body, this is oppression, people think I'm talking Western feminism. It's not Western feminism. I'm an Indian feminist. I'm inhabiting this body, and I know there is this huge structural violence on my body. So why will I not talk about it?
And you are so much focused in caste annihilation in Tamil Nadu. And what's your opinion about the Tamil Nadu society, Tamil people on caste?
I believe that caste is coming back with a new force in Tamil Nadu, and I'm very afraid of that. Especially since the late 90s, I've been seeing a lot of instances of extreme caste violence in my state. So yes, caste is playing a huge role in my state.
And urbanization and capitalization make the caste annihilation itself, because it will be diminished. It will be eradicated by capitalizing or urbanizing.
No.
Okay.
I think This is a huge myth that capital will save all of us. That, you know, capital is going to make all of us into Brahmins or maybe white people, or it's going to make all of us into Bill Gates or something. I don't see that happening. It's not going to happen because that's not the nature of capital. Capitalism is a very oppressive structure. But beyond that, how is the urban experience for the Dalits? I don't think it's a very liberated experience or a liberating experience, because still you have troubles in finding homes. People are still very curious about your caste identity. They will still try to discriminate you, and still the question of caste will come up during marriage, and you don't escape marriage because you live in a city. So I don't think urbanization is going to just destroy the caste system, or capitalism will destroy the caste system.
And shall we come to your poetry?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
You have published 2 books, no?
Yeah, yeah. Touch and Miss Militancy.
Miss Militancy.
Yeah.
And you have appreciated and criticized for that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I read something about your first book that has a poor English.
Okay. I think that was I think I should go into that review. That review was not a review of the first book, it was a review of the second book. And this was a man who was telling her English has improved compared to the first book, because in the first book I think he must have been talking about I was playing with syntax, I was trying to, you know, break the grammar and, you know, play with rules and things like that. Not all of the poems, there were 84 poems. But he also wrote, when he was writing about the second book, that Meena Kandasamy is promoting a kind of designer feminism.
Means?
I don't know. And it's based on Def Jam poetry. And he also says this is, he used this word, cunt-based feminism. So this was a kind of, and he said these poems do not exhibit, these poems are very heteronormative. They talk only about the love between a man and a woman. There is no woman-woman love in this. And I'm like, is that even a valid criticism? I'm like, you know, you understand where it comes from. So that was and this is the same man who said Jeet Thail's novel is the worst novel in English written in the history of the English novel. So he's known for writing these kind of bad reviews, you know, Mr. Ashley Tellis. So I don't think I'll take it personally if he says my English is bad or poor or good or anything, because he said this about Jeet. He's never said anything good about any book, so why should you take him seriously?
For a newcomer in literature or poetry, there's an easy way to draw attention.
What's that?
Write about sexuality.
You think so?
I think so, in our society.
Okay. My first book had 8 poems on love, and maybe 1 or 2 poems dealt with sexuality. So I don't believe that. It was not my primary concern. But Miss Militancy does deal a lot with it, because you understand that at the heart of Hindu patriarchy, this very oppressive structure, is not only the religion, is not only caste, but it's also a huge control of women. Only by controlling the women, only by controlling who she's sleeping with controlling her sexuality, they can control the caste system. Otherwise, it's not possible. If all the women say, you know, we don't care about caste, they can't keep the system. So to keep the women in control is the Hindu project. It's like right from the Manusmriti.